I'll go through the intro so we can get into the panel. I know time is running against us. We only have an hour. So welcome to the first talk of the Jiwe Jam series based in Nairobi at the Nairobi Game Development Center. Right, there's a little bit about Jiwe. We're a studio. We make educational games. We're also a platform, Jiwe.io. We're a community-driven platform that supports early-stage developers, and we're also an esports platform where we organize competitive gaming. So what you can do on Jiwe.io at the moment, because our goal is to support early-stage game developers. We're a platform that you can upload and download your games. You can leave comments and reviews. You can start crowdfunding campaigns using M-Pesa and card payments. And we also have an API where you can integrate XP, rewards, leaderboards, and microtransactions. This is a little bit about our community spread across Africa. So Jiwe is based here in Nairobi, Kenya, but we have partners in Joburg at the Shomolongong Game Lab. We have partners in Lagos with Africa Comic Aid, Accra in Ghana with Leti Arts, and in Dhaka with Careful Games, and a host of other countries as well, about 12 others. Our objectives with the Jiwe Jams are to increase game development activity, enhance learning and mentorship, boost funding and support for gaming prototypes, encourage community collaboration, and expand market exposure. Right? Themes that we'll be carrying across the Jiwe Jams over the next 4 months are African folklore. So, how do we weave in traditional stories, which is what the talk is about today. Next week, we'll be doing social impact. We had an event scheduled for tomorrow, but we've postponed it to next week instead. The following week, we'll be doing AI-driven gameplay. The week after, we'll be doing games of skill, followed by educational games, and of course, lastly, monetization. So for today, we're kicking off with this developer panel. All of these talks will be leading up to the Game Jam in May, where we're hoping we'll engage about 100 developers and make 50 games across the next 4 months. So yes, we are hosting game jams, but we also kind of are a kind of game incubator for early stage developers, just to hold your hand to get you to your first prototype, and then to have post-prototype activities such as talking to publishers, raising funds, playtesting, and so on. So our goal is to promote game development and support the game developer and support game developers across the continent. With that short introduction, back to you, Wesley.
All right, thank you so much, Max. That was what Jiwe does. You should probably follow them on their socials, is what he missed to say, and on their YouTube channels as well, to see what they're up to, and see what they're cooking up. So yeah, amazing being here with a panel of wonderful narrative guys and people who've made games and worked on games, and interestingly enough, a movie as well. Arnold, looking at you, and just having a talk about African folklore. So a quick debrief or housekeeping stuff. Remember to mute your mics in case there's any bleed over from anyone talking. In case you want to ask any questions or anything else, put it in the chat just to show you where the chat is. That is where the chat is. I've just typed hi. This is chat. Yeah, that's where the chat is. So that's so remember, mute your mics. If you have any questions, type hi. I have a question. Hi, there's something I'd like to ask. Put it in the chat. I'll definitely see it and log it. So yeah, without any further ado, let's jump into introductions. We have Arnold, Khumo, and Robertson. I'm not gonna really speak about them. I want to let them speak about what they've created, and what they're looking forward to in this panel. I'll start with the one who has a screen on, Arnold. Bada bing, bada boom, got you. Remember to unmute your mic also, Arnold, when you're speaking. Yeah.
What do you want me to say? my name?
Well, everything. Tell us why you're here. As we say in Kenya, majina za tambulisho. That is the names on your ID, but I'm kidding. You know what? Introduce yourself.
Yeah, so my name is Arnold Mwanjila. I'm a writer, director, um, storyteller, narrative design, head writer at Usiku Games, and I'm here to just chat about African folklore and have a good time with you guys. So looking forward to that.
I am about to queue up something for you, Arnold, and I want you to tell us a bit more about it. Are you ready? Are you ready? Are you ready? Even if you're not, it's going up. There you go. Tell us a bit more about Africa Legends and these characters, these wonderful, pretty characters we're seeing here.
Yeah, so before I got into Usiku Games, I was dabbling into getting into like gaming and stuff. This is way back in, I think, 2016, 2017, maybe? I'm not too sure. But yeah, so this was one of the very first projects I actually really worked on, and I loved it because I got to like just engage with a bunch of different people. I was working off both here and with the team in Ghana, and yeah, so the idea was to Africa Legends, which was a game that already existed in some form, and reimagine it. So we call this Africa Legends Reawakening, and I think these are actually the characters that are now in use on the match. So yeah, so we had to actually explore more of African culture and lore and folklore and stuff. So we took our cue from the Tolo Sagala and Po Sagala characters from now I'm blanking out. I'm forgetting who these guys are. There's different types of stories and different types of myths from across Africa. So yeah, because the whole idea was that the original game before it became the Match 3 game was to be this kind of adventure game where you're a superhero who's going around given instruction by Tolo Sagala to like try and figure out how to stop an alien invasion of some sort. So yeah, so it was pretty interesting. I don't know much more you want me to tell you about, but yeah, I think to revisit the project myself and just really look at it.
We're definitely going to ask you more questions about
I didn't get paid a lot for it.
Right.
I wrote a lot for it, and I had fun doing that. So I learned a lot. Yeah.
We're definitely going to go back into questions about African folklore when you're jumping back and forth.
Hear you guys.
Oh,
I can't hear you.
Can you guys hear me? Just type in chat, yes or no.
All right, 1 second.
Yes, right, cool. Can you guys hear Arnold?
I think
type in chat, yes or no.
Okay.
All of you, yep. Then Arnold and I can't hear each other. That is very funny. I'll give you a moment and find out what is happening.
I can hear you now. I can hear you.
You can hear me now?
I'm good. I'm back.
You're back?
I think they went off for some reason. I'm back.
Okay, cool. No problem.
Did you anyone hear everything I said? Because I might have been.
Yeah, they heard everything you said perfectly clearly.
God.
Awesome. Let me pull up a sneaky thing of yours, a sneaky trailer, if you don't mind, of yours, right? I want to confirm if I'm sharing this. Am I sharing the right screen? Oh, yes, I am. Right. I'm just going to share 30 seconds.
Mvuvi hodari kweli. Umetuletea nini?
Mampenda.
Umerudi kanisani?
Hapana, nilikuwa nataka advances za pesa za dawa za ubi.
Tell him that money is charity money, not a salary.
Hadithi.
Hadithi njoo, uongo njoo, utamu kulea.
Hapo zamani za kale, Zuhura, binti ya mfalme wa mbinguni, na Kausi, mungu wa bahari, walisema, nasi tumfanye mtu wa dunia kama sisi.
Gonna pause right there. I'm sorry, guys. I know it's pretty entertaining. It's not a movie. So, Arnold, talk to us about what we just watched.
Yeah, that's my debut feature film that I did do a few years ago. It's on Netflix Africa if you guys want to go take a look.
Look at that. Netflix Africa. Congratulations. Round of applause for Arnold. Let me find the sound. There you go. Thank you so much, Arnold. That is Arnold Mwanjila from Usku Games. Feel free to chat him on the side while I grab on Khumo. Khumo, where are you? Unmute your mic.
Hey, how's it?
Good. You're next up on the spotlight. Introduce yourself. Tell us about you and more about I Think Gaming.
Okay, cool. Hi, everyone. My name is Khumo Moerane. I'm the studio head of I Think Gaming and our IP commercial games studio called Disputed People Games. We're a Joburg-based video game studio. We are two years old, like in March. So we're like, 25 months old now? And we've African gods specifically, let me say. But let's talk about the game that you have now on screen.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So this game's called Khamani, the Lion of Summer. The concept of idea behind it is that you are a Nubian archer with the power to transform into a lion, and you go on to this journey to challenge the different African gods from across the continent. So the whole thing that you can transform into a lion is that the Nubians had a god called Aperemak, who's a lion-headed god of war and fertility, and so he's sort of like your great ancestor, and now you are in this world where you are challenging gods such as Shango from the Yoruba, who's the Yoruba god of lightning and justice, to South African gods like Ikachin, who's a Khoi god. And so the whole idea was that you'd go around this continent and challenge these guys to get there. And the whole goal at the end is to obtain this powerful artifact that will help you transform the Nubian desert into the paradise it once was.
Right.
So
Amazing. Amazing. I see the game complete on itch.io. If we had time, we'd have had a whole play session of this game. But thank you so much, Khumo. I played a bit of the game before I came in. It gave me a very roguelike vibe to it, which I liked, because games like Hades, Dead Cells, and all that vibe was very cool. I enjoyed it very much. But thank you so much, Khumo, for introduction. And next up is Robertson.
My name is Leti. I'm so sorry about that. I'll just walk you guys through what is fine. So please give me 2 minutes, or 3 minutes to just
No problem. No problem. While that is happening, I had a question for Khumo and Arnold, right? Both of you have worked in games that have characters with lore within them, characters with African law with feel. You need to take creative liberty with the characters you're creating. Of course, you had the very strong idea to do a copy paste of a real character or a real African folklore character. But I believe a bunch of these characters you created have very strong artistic liberties taken or slight artistic liberties taken. So at what point did you feel you take artistic liberties to give your own identity to an African folklore character, and how did you maintain the African folklore aspect of your character? Let's start with you, Arnold.
Ask the tough questions, or I don't.
Yes, I do.
I mean, okay, so it's, I think for a difficult, I guess, balance in act, because a lot of what I do is I'm doing a lot of research at the same time as I'm actually trying to come up with a story. So whatever thing that sparks my imagination from the research immediately gets thrown into the story and into the characters. So I've remembered this. The Sagala, Tolo Sagala and Po Sagala were like Dogon It's part of the Dogon myths, and part of the Dogon myth is actually, tied to a lot of, I would say the conspiracy theories of, lizard people and things like that, that we came from, or that they came from a different distant star and things like. So for me, already just reading this and seeing that this is actually part of their historical record, it's like, yeah, I'm gonna tell the story about aliens now. So it doesn't feel too far out of that space. But yeah, the liberties are almost from the get-go, because again, part of the struggle we have, and this is part of why we are doing this work, is that we don't have very strong records of all these things, right? We have patches and bits and pieces of our history that has been erased largely because of colonialism and stuff. So this is us reclaiming it, and I am okay with me putting a stamp on it and saying it is African because I am African. I'm not even going too deep about it. But yeah, it's easy to just like play around with that idea and just look at that. As long as I'm honoring, or at least I feel like I'm honoring some aspect of what it means to be African, or what I think it, or what I feel like it might have meant to my grandparents and my ancestors and whoever and whatever, then I think I'm on the right track. So I'm not deviating too far from that.
Amazing.
If that answers the question. Yeah.
That does answer the question, but let me bring in Khumo as well to answer the sort of tough questions as you put it. And Khumo, while you're thinking about answering the question, one thing I wanted to throw to you and think about is the colors, the labels, the iconography you used. Did you take any artistic liberty with them, and why did you take them, especially in Khamani, the Lion of Summer?
Yeah, that this whole thing about so let me start about the character, right? Khamani, he's not a folklore character, so he was a made up character, right?
Right. Interesting.
So his name is derived from there was a Nubian king called Nepa Khamani. So I just obviously I dropped that the Nepa part and changed the I think I added an H because yeah. So
before you go there, quick question: what does Nepa Khamani mean?
He was a king in Nubia, a real life king. So
real life king.
I don't know
Did his name? Oh right, okay, no problem.
Yeah, I can't tell you what his name meant, but he ruled with his mother, I think, at a very prosperous period of Nubia. Nubia is modern day Sudan, by the way.
For those who might not know, right?
Yeah.
And Khumo added the H because he's got H in his name too.
Exactly. Now we know it's the secret has been hacked. There we go.
Pronunciation actually. Khamani.
Khamani, right?
Versus Khamani, which is what So, but yeah. So and then maybe the way they started, and maybe there's something for me. Like obviously, every time in gaming, every time they speak about Africa, they speak about it's normally Egypt, right?
Right.
And I was like, actually, there's other parts of the continent. So that's when, and I think in my research, I found out that Nubia or Sudan has the most amount of pyramids in the world, which no one knows because everyone thinks all the pyramids are in Egypt, right? And you can then, in the research, you can see like these guys had a strong history. They all lived on the Nile. Sudan is in the Upper Nile. And Egypt is in the lower Nile. It's lower because it's the end of where the Nile meets, I think, the Mediterranean or something, or the ocean. Yeah. So in that, I was more focused on the gods themselves, and in the research you can see and I think what Arnold said. I mean, there's not so many gods, and I think there are a lot of gods are I think West Africa is really represented. Like Ghana, Nigeria, they have gods for everything. Like you got a god for pottery, you got a god for toothpaste. They have
toothpaste is a bit wild, Khumo, but let's. I know. Right.
But yeah, then the Nubians also had a few cool ones. So
right.
Since it's the first telling of these gods in my world, at least us telling them, like what Arnold said, they're not popular, they're not known, right? I was like, we have to be then truthful to
Right.
them, because then we are telling people about these gods who they never knew about, so we can't come up with a weird story about them or not characterize them properly. So that was always in the back of my mind, like, this is the first interaction with a Peremak, the lion-headed god of Nubia. No one, so we gotta say it correctly. If this is a first person's experience with Ikachin, who's a praying mantis god of the Khoisan here in South Africa, we have to then speak about them properly. So that was always in my mind, that we like, unlike Hades, let's say, right? They've told that
Right.
story of Greek gods for so long that they can have twists now, because we all know the story so well. They can take different
Right.
whatever, like tangents, and find lesser known characters and so forth. So that was always tough for me. And also, I guess the really tough part also was not being from those countries. I also felt like I'm not,
Right.
I can't, I have to be, the studio has to be extra careful about portraying these people and talking about them and these gods. I mean, so
Right.
those were challenges we were juggling, and I think for where folklore did come in, we will use folklore for the where we could inspire us. I think it was a lot of research, and because we have an enemy who's like who's based on a Khoi.
Just before
Oh,
you go there, is this a spoiler for the game?
no,
In the
but
game?
it just I think it's not a spoiler, but just like I think I'm trying to say where we did use folklore,
Mhm.
and I think we're trying
Oh,
to mix and match. But I think maybe let me say this: the idea was to make a Pan-African hero. And that was kind of my thinking. I'm like, okay, if you make a Pan-African hero, then you should touch on every area, right? Even though the challenge then
right.
was, but then you can't talk to every area, because I'm like, are we gonna have to now go and like speak to experts from every country? We,
That seemed like before you
Mm.
call Khumo, I had something I wanted to ask you. While we confirm with Robertson if he's ready, the colors
Oh
in your
yes.
game stand out, right? And some of the icons you use, are these icons you sort of picked from the Nubian culture, or are these icons you sort of creatively imagined for yourself and your
So
team?
no, it's again the Pan African. I think the Akan in Ghana, like they had like,
Right.
that what is the Adinkra symbols. So that was one of the first sort of inspiration that we got.
Right.
For which we are joined by our lead artist Nicole. She's on the Discord.
Oh,
She
amazing. Say what? Hi,
Yeah.
Nicole.
Hi, Nicole.
Amazing.
So she did this level, the arena, and she based it actually on. I think this is based on the Dugon. It's in Mali. It's based on Mali.
Right. Right.
'Cause we had one of our tutorial level was supposed to be Timbuktu. Since it's
Right.
a place of learning, so you're gonna learn our tutorial for the game. So then she
Right.
used that to start building, like looking at the different cultures in Mali, the Dugon, the different other tribes there, and then she then started building this arena around there.
Those colors, right.
Yeah, so I think it's multiple cultures. I mean, you got you got those Timbuktu, they got those buildings with those wooden rods that stick out. So you have that elements of that that you can see on these triangular towers.
Right.
The cracked egg on the floor is supposed to be the cracked egg, because the Dugon have like a creation story about, I think, an egg cracking.
Mhm.
And then that's where all the worlds came out of this egg cracking. And that's
Right.
the floor, like that crack represents that. So, which was what I really we wanted to do, and I'm so happy that she did it like this. Is like everything has a meaning, right, and a meaning tied back to the people there
Right.
from their culture. So
So
that was,
even
I think.
yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. So even the images, I love how even your images have African folklore. It's not just the narrative itself; it's the colors. The images have a reason they're there that's tied to African folklore, which is very amazing. Sorry to cut you short, Khumo. I want to give time to Robertson to do his presentation. We're going to limit you to 1 minute so that we keep it tight and have a couple of questions. Let's do 1 minute, if possible, 50 seconds. But yeah, Robertson, if you're ready, you can unmute and share screen.
Okay, let me share my screen now. Yeah, thank you for the opportunity. I think some of my team members will be joining. I have with me Abigail Selassie. She is our UI UX person, and then Vanessa as well. She's using a different username here. It's longer, but yes, I'll just like to talk a bit about Sweave. I think I saw the game that was being showcased, and ever since I joined the call, at least I've also been hearing about the showcasing of the uniqueness of Africa, right, in video games, and how we can also try to stay unique and stand out. And that's the angle that we wanted to play from, with Sweave. And Sweave is just, I think, for those who have seen it, a very simple game that is just representing what we do here in Ghana with the kente cloth and our various symbols. So I'll just like to show a bit or take you through the main idea of the game. And then if you have any questions, you can just let me know, and I'll be so happy to answer them. So, Sweave is a hyper-casual game, right? Like I said, that showcases the beauty of African culture through its unique patterns, weaves, and symbols. Moving on to the next slide. So, its gameplay is very simple, right? It's tap to move game, like very simple. You just hold the screen and you dodge an obstacle, and
Just
you
to add
realize
on,
that
a unique aspect of this, Arnold and I are playing this game before we joined the call, and we nearly missed the call because of this game.
it's serious.
Yes, you are.
That's crazy.
I am snitching on Arnold as we are currently. We were playing the game, and I'll have a couple of questions for you. So if you don't mind, to allow that a bit more dynamic in this, while you're talking about your game, I'll have a couple of questions. That will also bring in Arnold and Khumo as well to speak about it. Is that okay with you?
Fine, like that's perfect.
Awesome.
So I think at the end of the presentation, I would also drop some spoilers that you guys can be looking forward to.
Ooh, so we get spoilers, we get pre-spoilers even on this call. Nice.
Yeah,
I'm glad. I'm happy.
But that's exclusive stuff, right? You guys
Right. Exclusive stuff. Awesome.
Okay, so you would notice that the ball has a to and fro movement. It moves from the left to the right, and you don't really have control over how the ball moves left to right, but you can only control how it moves upwards. This gameplay mechanic, right, was inspired by the kente. If you've ever seen the kente being woven, right, when we are done, I would show a video of what I mean, just to give some extra context. But when weaving kente, we move the shuttle from left to right, and we pass a thread in between. And that process is very tedious, but it's a very gradual process to making a full piece of cloth. So that was the idea for the balls to and fro movement, and we also added the symbols, right? The symbols that you see on top of the patterns are also symbols that we add to kente cloths when they are done weaving them. Some clients may want symbols, woven to their clothes, like the what's the name of that thing? I think embroidery or something, right? So they emboss the symbol on the cloth, and that's where the obstacles come from. And the masks are just a very cool way of us, showcasing the various masks that we have across Africa.
Robertson,
So
I'm just
they
going to
played
stop you a bit and ask you a quick question. Do each of the symbols have an individual meaning? And more importantly, I think also Arnold and Khumo can speak about this. how do players then interact with those symbols? Because I know for a fact if you play with them, some of the symbols if you hit them, it causes a fail and everything else. Now, if for example, as a casual player playing through this game, you like the gameplay mechanic and you're going to go through it and everything else and all that stuff, is there a way you might interact with the symbols that sort of show African folklore within games? And I think the question can also go to you, Arnold and Khumo, where are there stuff that the player, aside from the battling and stuff like that, the player can interact within the games you worked in that have African narrative or folklore weaved into them? I hope I'm making sense. But I'll start with you, Robertson, especially in terms of the symbols, right?
So yes, if whenever you crash into a symbol, you would realize that on the game over panel there is an option to learn about the symbol you just crashed into. So
Right.
the main idea of Sweave was to teach, right? We noticed that with, at least for Ghana, for instance, we have this issue with the influx of European content, just wiping off or wiping away our own traditions and all that. So you would reach out to the young ones or try to engage them in any of our myth or history and all that, and they do not know anything about them. They don't know about our race history and all that. So we have puzzle scouts and trying to play around that, teach people, but also keep them engaged in a very fun and exciting way. So all the symbols in the game, each into them on the main screen, there's a museums.
Right.
Yes,
Ooh, a
you see all the
museum.
symbols that are defeated, and so that's the educational components of Sweave in a nutshell.
Right,
I hope
right.
that
You've answered my
the
question. Give me a second. Can you hear me clearly? We had like a bit of a bug.
So I'll just move to the next slide. So the hazard circles in Sweave are ancient symbols. So we have brass symbols and other symbols from other part of Africa. We have symbols from Egypt, Nigeria, right? They explode if let's collide them. Once you collide them, you would get the opportunity to read about them. Like whenever you get a game over screen, it's not all just illustrations. You can also use the opportunity to breathe and just learn a bit about the game. Sorry.
I think it's on my end.
I think
it's on my end.
Sorry.
Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Now.
Yeah, I think we can hear you. I think it might actually be on Robertson's side.
It's on your side. No worries. But before you go on, Robertson, right? I want to grab in Arnold and Khumo real quick, just to ask this question. In the games they created, are there interactable items, starting with you, Arnold, that a player could interact and learn about African folklore or read about African folklore or get hints about African folklore?
I'll say of some of the games, no.
Right.
I mean, a lot of the games that we worked on here at Usiku are not necessarily folklorish games, but have a lot of learnings tied to them. To have those aspects. I think that is a nice, interesting way to include them within games that are exploring our folklore. Just the same way we have, like, I think for one of our games where we have, instead of having it's instead of having ads like click on this ad to get power ups or to get extras or to get something else, it's click on this, learn about this, and you'll get your extra power up, right? And so you're giving you're tying it into still more of that what are they called? More of the game player's desire to continue playing the game. And so it's not something that they just stumble upon or they might or might not see or whatnot. If they truly want more energy, or if they truly want this, or if they truly want that, instead of clicking an ad, learn a bit more about your folklore. So I think that would be a nice, interesting way, especially for our games, because we are largely hyper casual mobile games. So it makes sense to.
That's a very interesting way we can combat aggressive monetization by turning what is supposed to be an aggressive monetized model into an education model where you would click on something to learn more about African culture. But let me get Khumo's thoughts on this as well. Let's get Khumo's thoughts. In your game, same question. Are there stuff the player can interact with, or are there screens that the player can interact with to see more about African law and African culture?
No. But that thing of gamers hate to read, man. When you do.
See, I was gonna lead to that, and I'm glad you said it. Yes, gamers don't like to read.
When we do
so how do you do it?
Yeah, when you do playtesting, you like people just skim over, they don't even read the tutorials. So it's that thing. I love what Arnold's saying. Like you try to incentivize it. I know in my previous game that I made, Kia's World. I tried to have that whole thing of reading, but it just falls flat. So it's just ways of I think it's just how do we make it more into the into the game, is the gameplay itself, right? Like with the symbols that Robertson was showing. You have positive symbols, you got negative symbols, right? And that way maybe that could lead to something. But in my experience, I think we didn't have them. But I think we were talking about, because what we had instead was in between the loading screen, basically. That loading screen text.
Right.
So that's what we were doing. In between, like when you boot the game in and you're starting to play, like random fact would come up, like they're all about the pyramids, like they have 2,000 pyramids in Nubia, in Sudan. Or then the next loading screen would say something about a Perimak. So we try to put it in the loading screen while people were. So we artificially made people wait so they could read it.
That is, I see two models here. I love these two models. Number one, Arnold, force them to read by making them want to buy power-ups. You make them read by force in loading screens. I love this. And here Max says that's a lie. I read. Max, you're a bit old for the duration we're talking about. So
Can
I yeah, sure.
I agree with Khumo. Even I personally have a tough time reading.
Right.
And I love reading. So I think we are in early days, because we are still exploring a lot of these things. And I think one thing that Khumo said, which is trying to find ways to incorporate them within the gameplay and within the game design. I love what Robertson did with Sweave, where your actual.
Just quick thing, Robertson. Feel free to go to slide through your slides as we're talking. I don't have to stay on one screen. We would definitely want to see more. You can go back to them as we finish. Continue.
Like the idea that the gameplay itself, like the gameplay mechanic itself, is actually tied to how the weave works when they're making sprinters. Like I mean, as I'm playing, probably I'll never see that or whatever, but I don't know how. I think we need to think deeper on how we can try and make the player see that and understand that. I'm guessing maybe people who are traditionally more exposed to the weaving would be able to see it, but I wouldn't. But I do love that idea of trying to use even the mechanic itself as something that's taken directly from folklore and taken from our cultures, and it is then now transposed into this space that we can now play with. So yeah, that was pretty cool.
Kudos, Robertson, and your team. I love that you've gone to the screen to bosses, and I see Kiburi, Django, and Zuberi. Kiburi, I know that's a Swahili word for a big head, or what's this word? What's the right word for Kiburi? All I know is a big head.
Pride.
Sorry? Pride, arrogance. No, it's more arrogance than pride.
Arrogance,
You know,
arrogance.
arrogance is the right word. But yes, Robertson, you've given us a wonderful chance to talk
Yeah,
about.
I wish our game designer was here to give. She is a Kenyan,
Oh,
so most of the
nice,
names like
amazing.
she came up with, But the moment I saw them, I knew that these are Kenyan words that mean something crazy in language.
Yeah, amazing. But
Yeah.
take us through the
But just
bosses,
to add on to
Or
I just
yeah,
want to add something real quick to the conversation earlier about players not liking to read. So one thing that's at least for us we benefit with Sweave is we use reinforced learning, right? Whereby you don't necessarily have to read about them. What we aim to achieve is that you find these symbols, you get to see them over and over and over again to a point where they are so familiar that when you see them again one day, you'll be like, oh, I know this symbol from somewhere. And now that's like, piques your interest to want to know about them.
right,
Right? So let's say a symbol like an Edinkra symbol, you may end up coming across one of them somewhere in the game. And now it's stuck at the back of your mind that, okay, this is something from this game. And if you should see it somewhere, you know that, okay, there's an African symbol or something like that. So
right,
although there's an option, it's just an option at the end of the day. You can choose to read about it, you can choose not to. But at least from our analytics, most of our player
right,
base like to read about the symbols and the info we have in the game. So most of
right,
our player base actually do like to read.
right.
But anyways,
Oh, is that a
um,
diss the rest of the player bases? Just so we know. Have you dared every other single player base to read?
so for us,
Yeah.
we kind of have trackers all over the game that kind of monitor player behaviors and the things that they
Oh,
interact. So we see what players are reading when they choose to read about a symbol. The symbols that have the most attention, the ones that don't have the most attention, the bosses that people defeat, all of that. We are keeping tabs on all that. So we get to
amazing.
understand what to build upon and perfect in the game based on the
Right,
data that we collect.
right, right.
So I'll just talk a bit about the bosses in the game.
Mhm.
So we have a lot of bosses. I think right now we have over 20 bosses in the game now. That's
Right.
players can defeat. And these are all masks that are inspired by African masks, right? So some of the masks in the game are masks that we um, put in the game or that were inspired by real masks, and some are from just artists feeling very inspired. So we sometimes collaborate with people who make actual masks and then bring their creativity into the game, just like we do with the patterns in the game. So for the patterns, we have a weaving company, that's Prestige Kente. They come up with the designs and we transfer them into the game digitally. Right, same with the masks as well. So we try to be very, the game is very simple, but we try to be very authentic as possible with the game, with our storytelling, right? Because we want to bring a lot of attention to our uniqueness, our African beauty and all that. So our main aim with the game is just beauty. That someone picks up the game and they're like, "Wow, this is very beautiful," because
Right,
that's what Africa is all about.
right.
So moving on. So for our target audience, we are looking at casual gamers, cultural enthusiasts, arts and design lovers, and educational gamers.
Pause.
Basically,
Before you
yeah, you
go,
said.
before you go forward there, because I believe we can mention all this. There's a target audience for I mean, you call them cultural enthusiasts.
Yeah.
There's this name. I don't want to call them. Um, there's a word I'm looking for to say. When we make our games, I see a lot of us, and Khumo and Arnold can speak on this as well. A lot of the games we tend to target are for people who are tech savvy, right?
Mm,
And then we realize some of the stories we pull from, some of the people we go to sort of get the true aspects of the story or the true African folklore are not tech savvy, if you get what I mean. Come from rural areas and
yes.
and and, and stuff like that. So, and I'll give Arnold and Khumo a chance to answer this question. But do you believe we should create games that are targeted towards non-tech savvy people, or even more importantly, do you believe it is possible to create games that are targeted towards non-tech savvy people that explore African folklore?
In my opinion, I feel like just have one thing you want to roll with and make sure you're doing it to the best possible way you can. The reason why I'm
Right.
going in that direction is because both options are very valid. The tech savvy guys, you would want to make them happy with whatever products that you have. So for a game like Africa's Legends, right? Africa's Legends, the mastery game, it's targeted towards people who are hardcore strategy players, right? So you wouldn't find, the everyday casual gamer enjoying AL too much. But for those who like tactical games, right? When they play
Right.
AL, they are really into it. Like, if you see how we have our community where you see them interacting like on a very daily basis, like they enjoy the game more than even me personally that I worked on
Right.
it. Same with a game like Sweave, right? This game is targeted towards those who just like to play casual games and people who hate or want to just prove that they are a better gamer. That's why we have the leaderboard aspect of the game. And our leaderboard resets, we have that one that resets on a weekly basis and one that resets every month. And you see people like actively competing there and also like sharing their scores and all that,
Right.
trying to be competitive with the leaderboard. So I think you just have to find which group you want to target and just make sure that you are hitting the right spots with them. And also just try as much as possible to be in very close communications with them, like something like a community, so that you can really understand their needs and their wants and try to incorporate that as much as you can in the game.
Right. Just bringing out of this conversation as a person who's created, I was part of a team that created a game with different character names. What do you think about targeting people who are, like I said, non-tech savvy in the rural areas who, more often than not, maybe we're not making enough games for them, and we heavily rely on them to go and remember the folklore. We go to those areas to talk about folklore or to take inspiration of folklore from it. Arnold, your thoughts?
I think Robertson has said everything that needs to be said. Okay, not everything, but I like the idea of there are different types of people in the world. Like that's just generally how we are. We are all individuals. And it's there's different types of target audiences, the different types of audiences for different games. So I would love to target them. That's for sure. I would love them to explore their own roots, their own cultures, their own histories, their own things. But can we actually reach them? Is another question that you have to consider. And do we have the ability, or money, or the resources, or whatever to actually reach these guys? But yes, let's make games for them. I think let's make games for whatever target audience we are actually targeting. I think first and foremost, when we are creating games, we are thinking this is a game I would love to play, and then now you hopefully find your tribe amongst them. So I do like the idea of rewording. I think rewording, not to reword, but to change the word. The idea of analytics, because I see this was a question I'd wanted to ask Robertson in terms of how much information they are getting in terms of stuff from their audiences, and I'm glad he's talked about the analytics, and I think that's a nice, interesting way of thinking about this, especially from an African perspective, and it's that this is community building. We're all about community. We grow up in community. We've grown up knowing that it's a community, that village that raises a child and things like that. And I think that's into. And if we look at it from a more capitalistic Western idea of thinking, it's just like analytics. Let's make more money off these guys. Hooray!
Numbers equals money.
That's fine, but like I think what we need to be doing is cultivating that community, because if you do cultivate that community, then I think we express ourselves within that community. We learn about our cultures within that community. It becomes different. Even if I'm playing to be ahead on the leaderboard in, on Sweave, I know if I'm on a forum somewhere chatting to people and saying, yo, I did this, I am probably very well engaged in that space, and I'm probably engaging with the cultural elements of the game as well within that space. And I think that could be something very cool and a nice way to word analytics and community building and whatnot, and audience into community, into villages, into things like that. So that's another way we need to think of folklore, not just within the game, but as a business.
As a business,
word.
Right. Khumo, while you're unmuting, one thing about your game, and you talked about the people you engage with, the newbie community you engage with, and you talked about where your game designer went and picked inspirations from different areas. She went, one of you, I think it was artists from Kenya, or game designers. I'm forgetting which one is which. That picked inspiration and got these names. One thing I wanna add on to your question, it's gonna be a bit tougher, is that when you picked out the target audience for the game, was there a specific target audience you wanted to highlight, but because of a certain reason you couldn't?
I think the argument with Khamani, we were trying to, and I think that's probably one of our toughest lessons. We were like, we want to make a big game, right?
Right.
And we're looking at people like Hades and stuff. And the lesson was we failed to recognize that these people that studio had 15 years plus of experience and knowledge in making these type of games. So I guess we were saying we want to target people who love that type of game, but I don't think we broke it down more. We're like, look, we're inspired by I think Arnold said it, we're inspired by something about we made a game that we thought we loved, or we liked this genre, we like this stuff. So let's make this thing, and then hopefully other people will love it too.
Right.
But I guess, but then I think maybe where we had a tough time was maybe in the execution, right?
Right.
Because obviously, in this genre or this type of game, people there's a high level of execution that's required for the gameplay to feel nice, and that's not. So we didn't take those kind of little things it's a big thing, into consideration.
Right.
So I think also so your target market also should be about is your studio ready for that market, right?
Right.
Can your studio even capture that market? Can you deliver to those people? Because those people then have expectations, high expectations, depending on whatever genre it is.
Right.
But yeah, so I think that was our a big learning. Just can you target those people? I remember I thought that was very nice that I heard from the talk. Someone gave it. So we've been experimenting with how we then make our prototypes. So one of the earlier prototypes we made last year, August, we chose one person in the office, and we said we started interviewing them, researching them, because we can't do we're a small studio, we can't do this massive worldwide research. So let's pick someone, ask them questions, get insights from them. This person will be our target market, and in that we could see. She was a skateboarder who loved plants, and you can argue that there's a skateboarder who loves plants. There's probably 10 million of those people worldwide, right? So we focused on this one in our office,
Right.
And so then say, okay, and then she loved playing Candy Crush on her way to work. So
you just kept narrowing down the demographic using that one model, using that one person in the office.
Yeah, then to build, then we're and if it wasn't for her, we would have never come up with that concept, right? Because we're she loves skateboards, she loves Candy Crush, she loves plants. So we made a game called Plant Mom Match, where You're
Wow.
you're taking care of a plant by playing
Right.
this match game that has
Interesting.
skateboarding elements, aesthetic, like
Right.
the sort of gems. Your gems are like skateboard wheels, crushed cans, and then whatever money you make from there, then you go and you buy accessories for your plant.
So you picked this. Just let me get this straight. You picked a person in the office and made a game for them, specifically saying
Yeah.
we're gonna make a game that speaks to whatever you love playing, and then made it so that it would now speak to whatever people love playing. That's very interesting. That's really, really interesting. Interesting way to look at demographic.
Yeah, then I mean, can I do? But I want to say to your previous question about making games for non-tech people. I think the gaming thing is so. This gaming term tag is so people are scared of it, right? I think
Right.
it's been made to be like, oh, you're only gamers. The real gamers are the hardcore gamers. Everyone else is not a gamer, so people are scared to admit like I love playing games, but I'm not that guy. I don't play Call of Duty, so I'm not a gamer. Oh, so it's almost like we have to also change this meaning of this word. Because I mean,
Right.
my mother plays games and she's like 60, right? Parents play, but she won't say she's a gamer. And she
Right.
didn't know how to play. She was, because remember, okay, I'm old, guys, but when Snake came out on the Nokia, people were playing that game on
Right.
Snake, right? People who knew nothing about games. But if you ask them, are you a gamer? They'll be like, no, I'm not a gamer.
Interesting.
So we have to change how we talk to this term of gamer, like changing what it means and like open it for people feeling.
Right. All right, Khumo.
Yeah,
I'm gonna leave. I'm gonna let Robertson go through the finalize on his presentation. We have 3 minutes left, but while he's doing that, I'll request from our audience to quickly type in the questions all in the chat. And in those 3 minutes, while Khumo is reading it, we're gonna take some time to go through each of the questions, answer them, and then have a nice wrap up. So yeah, go wild, guys, go wild. But Khumo, sorry, Robertson, take it away.
Okay, so yeah, thanks for that. So I'll just brush through this final slide. So this is just about the monetization of the game now. For Sweave, we have in-app purchases, ads, that's rewarded ads, and then limited time events, as well as brand partnerships and premium. There's a premium version which we have with Game Loft. So there's a version of Sweave deployed. Gameloft is the one that is handling that. So yes, this is how we monetize the game and try to keep the game afloat. So that's basically Sweave in a nutshell. If anyone has any question, please do drop it in the chat so you can let me know. But I also said I had something exclusive, right? So we are almost done with an online mode for Sweave, right? So it's
Quick housekeeping. If you're opening activities, kindly close them. It might be a bit distracting for the speaker. Thank you. Continue.
Yes. So
Robertson?
I was saying that we currently have an online mode that it's in the works that is almost done, and yeah, it's really shaping up. So yeah, really looking forward to that bit. So that's just about it from my side. If, like I said, if you have any questions, I'm more than glad to answer.
Amazing. I see guys are typing in their questions. Let me see if I'm possible. They're muted already. But if you have a question and you don't want to type it and you want to speak it out and us to hear your voice, go right ahead. We are very much lovely to listen to your questions. Yeah. But I had a question before anyone else jumps in. We come into monetization, and since we're talking about African folklore and everything else, is the in-game currency in your game tied to any African folklore elements?
So that's we have spirit points and then gems, right? So I think for the spirit points, I don't know. Africa has this whole vibe of spiritual vibe when it comes to things that has to do with Africa. So we're like, why not dig into that? And that's where the spirit points comes in from. And also gems, because Africa has abundance of natural, resources and all that. So we just thought to include that. But those are the only currencies that are in the game. Okay.
Right. I'm gonna ask two questions while I wait for the people to finish typing. We're slightly 20 minutes over time, so guys, if you're able to clack a bit faster. So yeah, Arnold, I have a question for you. I know I get the tough questions for you, and also you, Khumo, as well. Same question, and keep it short, keep it brief. Is there a space for African folklore games to make money and become big? Since we're talking about monetization, let's start with you, Arnold, then go to Khumo. Keep your answer really brief.
Yes, that's my brief answer.
Yes, that's your brief answer. Yes,
that's my brief answer. Yeah,
right.
yeah. I mean, it's a lot of things, a lot of factors go into whether a game is successful or not, including luck and things like that. But I think, I think there's a hunger for African folklore out there, and I think there is a big market that would enjoy games that are based off that. So yeah, I think there's a big space for it.
Khumo, your same question.
Yeah, I feel the same as Arnold. It's not a short answer, but look at, for me, that power in seeing African gods, right? Seeing ourselves as Africans in this amazing as powerful beings. I think that's what we've missed, and that's what all these when a Greek child sees like Hercules, doesn't a Greek kid think he's amazing? He thinks he could he could grow strong and tall and kick ass like Hercules. So these stories, will they make money? Well, I mean, that's what we're pushing towards, right? But they're so powerful because we get to then, see ourselves as bigger, as the amazingness that we are, just like we see it in the games talking back to us. So I think for me, for that message, to keep fighting to put that message out there is important. We'll figure out the monetization part of it, but just showing ourselves, showing our cultures, the richness in our cultures is so important, man. Like, we know everything. Again, I'll make that example. We know everything about all these other cultures, but we know nothing about our stories.
Right.
But there was a proper effort by all those countries. Like, I know in the UK, there's the companies would get some money if you promote European culture in your game or British culture. So, because it's a soft way of, it's a marketing tool to bring people to your country. Look at, everyone loves Japan. Japan did that through games and anime, right?
Right.
And so we have to keep telling these stories, because that's how we're gonna sell out. That's how we're gonna showcase our countries, our continent, to the world, and show them what it
Amazing.
really is, like how amazing it is. So for me, we'll figure out the money part, and I know it's the hardest money part, but we'll figure it out. But the story, the mission is important.
Awesome. I'm gonna jump to these questions. All right, cool. I'm gonna take all these questions real quick, throw them to our audience. I would like really short answers here. Number one, where can we play your games? Let's do Khumo, and then we'll do Arnold. Don't describe us. Say where they can play your games. Khumo, for you.
Well, thank you. So search Disputed People Games. If you just type that on Google, but you can go to itch.io. So all our games on itch. If you search Disputed People Games online, we'll come up. We'll pop up our Instagram and YouTube and itch, and soon it'll be on Jiwe.
Awesome. What about you, Robertson? Where can people play your game?
You can look up any of our games on Google Play or the App Store. Sweave, Africa's Legends, or Puzzle Scouts. They are all free to play.
Right. Amazing. Awesome. Arnold, people can get our games, the school games. Where can they get them? Play Store.
What are they called? The folklore games, not so much, but you can find the various games we've done. So
any collaboration between your game studios and
also
African
on Apple Store. So for those
Apple Store, as well.
Yeah.
Awesome. Any collaboration between your game studios and African comic creators? We're gonna keep it one word each. Let's do Arnold, then we'll do Khumo, then we'll do Robertson. Any collaboration between African comic creators?
So currently we are working on a game called Wahenga. That's actually pretty cool. That will come out soon. Yeah, so that is an African comic book company, Avandu Comics, that is actually trying to do like a game. So we are been collaborating with them. So yeah, and that's African folklore as well. So pretty cool.
All right, cool. Next up, Khumo?
For me, no, not yet.
Not yet. Awesome. No worries. What about you, Robertson?
For us, we've collaborated with a lot of African studios in the past.
No, African comic creators, comics, the ones who make comics. Right.
Oh yeah, we've done that before. So we used to have a platform called Afro Comics where we had different African comics on there, and we are working on a V2 for it, which we are hoping will come maybe next year or something. But
right. Amazing. Afro-Cryptorian, your third question is heavy. Could you speak a one of your favorite games based on a mythological setting, not must be African? Ooh, one, don't describe why you like it, just say the game. Arnold, go. You're muted.
Does it have to be a mobile? Does it have to be a mobile game or just
no? Any.
God of War.
God of War, right? All right, cool. Khumo, go.
Final Fantasy 12, but it had a collection of gods, right? Yeah.
Right. Final Fantasy 12. Amazing. 12. All right. I like to Arnold. Robertson, go.
Age of Mythology.
Age of Mythology. Nice. All right. Mine is what's it called? Immortal Phoenix Rising. That's one of the games that use African music. That is a heavy question and a bit long-winded. So some of these questions, there are so many and so amazing. Oh my lord. If we only had time to answer. Right.
Answer that one pretty quickly. Yes, we do have an in-house studio as music and a sound designer. So yeah, and he does work on creating sounds that are very African. So
yeah. What has been invaluable resources? These are amazing questions. So guys, this is what we're gonna do, right? And we don't want to take too much of your time. It's going to 8:30 here. No, relax, Arnold. Right. Do is we're gonna first of all, each of these creators, including myself, Max, will be able to share links to them, their portfolios, their apps where you can follow up with these questions, and definitely we have a follow-up session on Friday, don't we, Max? Next Thursday.
So we meet again
next Thursday. Now, what we're gonna do is we're gonna take all these sections, meet back here, then answer these questions next Thursday. This is to ensure, first of all, of course, we don't take too much of your time answering questions, and second of all, come to hear questions answered.
So I hope to see everyone next week Thursday and sessions as well. Thank you again for coming.